You're listening to Speaking Sidemount, the podcast where we talk all things sidemount diving, from equipment, skills, techniques, and sidemount diving expeditions to interviews with some of the world's top sidemount divers. Whether you're new to sidemount, been sidemount diving for years, or just want to know more, this is the place for all things sidemount. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Let's get wet. Hey, welcome back to Speaking Sidemount. I'm Steve Davis. This episode is kindly sponsored by XDEEP. I've been diving the XDEEP Stealth 2.0 system for over 5 years before I even conceived of this podcast, and I use it in all of my courses and personal dives, from open water trimix to wreck penetration and cave dives. The XDEEP Stealth 2.0, without question, is the standard for sidemount equipment. I love diving it, and I'm very grateful for their support of this podcast. Recently, I was struck by a blow-up on the Sidemount Facebook group, and I know what you're thinking. Which one? There are so many. Yes, both Facebook groups and blow-ups on these groups. This one pertained to the header image for the group. The image showed a diver performing a course trimix dive. He was in Sidemount, looking well, let's be kind, less than what many of us might say was optimal. I really felt for the guy in the picture because he was genuinely excited about his course and his progress, and yet somehow he was oblivious to the fact that he was not on the correct path, nor receiving the training that his enthusiasm deserved. I didn't participate in the group discussion or the online destruction of this fellow diver, as I don't think the nature of trial by social media is a positive way to accomplish what most were looking to do, and that is to let this guy know what was going on, and also ensure that the header for the group represented what sidemount diving should be. So the question that jumps out of all of this is, how do we change the perception of what really is good sidemount diving and instruction versus the sheer dross that is out there in some cases? Surely before a diver goes out and does a course, they check out their instructor and see if their experience, their pictures, and their video represent good sidemount diving. If you want more on this, I covered this way back in episodes 1 and 2, and I think it's worth revisiting this again. So as I was pondering this, I came upon a picture on Facebook. It came up on my feed, and it was of a sidemount diver in a 3-cylinder decompression or stage diving configuration. He was in a mine, perfectly set up, captured in trim and balance. The image itself was brilliant. The diver was perfectly illuminated and the background was completely black. I thought, yes, this is how it's done. The image was taken by Sidemount Essentials instructor Matteo Varenna from Portofino in Italy. Now, I've known of Matteo for a few years now, since he was a student of Steve Martin and passed through Gozo Technical Diving in the years that straddled my own time there. Matteo went on to join my good friend Audrey Cadell as one of Steve Martin's Sidemount Essentials instructors, and I know from personal experience that the content and level of this training is genuinely world class. Now, when I invited Matteo onto the show, he was concerned about his level of English, but as you'll soon hear, he did just fine, excepting of course his outrageous Italian accent, which as a New Zealander I don't think I've got any right to question. So we caught up and got on like a house on fire. I asked Matteo why he chose the Sidemount Essentials path, and to find out more about his thoughts on how we can lift the level of sidemount instruction and diving around the world. We cover this, and we also discuss his background in diving and training, his home of Portofino, Italy, his photography, and some of his recent work that he's been doing with XDEEP in Italy. All this and much, much more in this episode of Speaking Sidemount. Matteo, welcome to Speaking Sidemount.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I want to apologize for my English. I'm an Italian spaghetti, so finding people speaking very well in English in Italy is not so...
One of the great things about English, though, is even when you mess it up, you can still understand it. So that's not going to be a problem. And like most Europeans, your English is a lot better than you give yourself credit for. So I don't think we're going to have a problem.
Good. Let's do it.
Okay. So let's start out. Tell us a little bit about your background in diving.
I started diving in 1998. Actually, I was in Sardinia with an American girlfriend, and she used to stay sunbathing all day long, and it was so boring for me. And the staff of the center always come and say, "Do you want to try diving? Do you want to try diving? Do you want to try diving?" And I say, "No, why diving? I don't like it at all. I am not interested at all." But it was so boring that period that I decided to do it. I tried the diving in the pool, just attached to the edge of the swimming pool. And I say, "What the fuck? It's terrible, these things. I don't like it." And they say, "You don't like it?" "No." "So you don't want to do the course?" Yes, because I'm bored. I want to do it, even if I don't like it. And then I started. Then I fell in love with diving. I became instructor in 2004 after cooperating with the diving center since the beginning, since 1999. I'm lucky I have a house in the area of Portofino, Italy.
Yes.
It's southwest of Italy. So one of the biggest diving center there, and I started diving there. Then I was the co-owner of the biggest diving center in Italy. It was called Abyss in that area for 3 years, from 2005 till 2007. But when it starts being just driving the boat and no diving, I decided to split from the company because it was not interesting at all. It was not my style of diving and leaving the diving industry. And I started for Sardinia. And I stayed in Alghero, so caves, for 3 years on a boat. Was one of the best part of my life, definitely. Food.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I interviewed Thorsten Velda or Toddy a few weeks ago, and after that interview, I thought, I've got to go.
You have to do it. You have to do it. This is the other coast, but it's incredible people. Everything is incredible. When I came back to Portofino, I cooperated with the GUE Center, the best GUE facility in Italy. It's called Portofino Divers, and I stayed there for 3 years, and I fell in love with the Hogarthian style. So I started doing open water courses, always with long goes and backplate, and in buoyancy. Let's say not in buoyancy, but not touching the bottom.
Sure. Yes. Neutrally buoyant and in trim. Right?
But after 2 years and a half, I'm curious. I start seeing around on the web this stuff of having the tank touch somewhere else. Then I went doing my cave course with a double tank with Patrick Whitman in Playa del Carmen. And I just start seeing different way to attach the bottle, this picture. And I surfed the net. And in that period, it was, let's say, 2010. On the web, Sidemount was Steve Martin and Steve Bogarts.
Yes.
So video around was always them. And it was like flying. It was so interesting. And I started using it. I tried to using it, but in the GUE center was difficult.
Sure.
Obviously, they say, no, this is not Hogarthian. You don't have your regulator or your long goes always in your mouth. So this is not correct. So you don't have to do it. So I decided for another road. And in 2014, I left the center in summer. And I take a fly for Playa, and I start the second stage of my Sidemount career with Steve Martin. I went to Malta for the first time.
Right.
But I've been Sidemounting since 2012.
Right. Your grounding in diving there is very impressive. I can imagine starting out at a GUE center where you get the equipment discipline and the diving discipline that comes from that. And then you match that with training with someone like Patrick Whitman, who's just a fantastic diver and instructor as well. And then layer on top of that, training with Steve. I mean, I don't know it gets any better than that, really, does it?
It's really great. A little story about Patrick. When I went to Playa, there is a friend there. It is Alberto Salvini, another very good cave diver there. He's the owner of Pluto Diving. I went there, I met him, and I booked the course with another instructor. I don't say the name, be correct. Because oh no, don't do it with this girl. And actually, she disappeared. It was impossible to find this girl. Say, you can do the course with Patrick. I call him and I say if he has space in the class. And he said, okay, I'm starting a class in English tomorrow. If you want to come, come. I went there, and Alberto said, pay attention, because Patrick is quite difficult to manage. But mostly in the center, there were Andreas Mattes, the owner of the center. And he said, pay attention, he doesn't speak at all. He doesn't watch you in the eyes at all. He's quite rude. And it was like that. When I jumped in the center, I was a little scared and excited to do this adventure. And I saw Patrick fighting with Andreas, and I say, oh, fuck. People can't behave like this. And the problem was that a group of divers that should have attended the course after my course, knowing the instructor would have been Patrick, say, we don't want to come because it's too difficult. It's too hard having a course with Patrick. So I say, oh God, oh God, what I will do now? But actually it was great.
Yeah.
It was perfect, so precise, so strong during the course, so strong in the water, so direct. But when you go out in the water, when you are in the pickup, boom, so fun.
I did an interview with Patrick and I've seen videos of him. I've never had the benefit of training with him. I'd love to. He just has an amazing sense of humor. And obviously,
definitely.
He's a funny guy. So there's that on one side, but then, he's Austrian, so that, the Germanic side is there. And, you see the precision. I've dived with a lot of Germans. Yeah, sometimes their movement is almost violent in the water. They're so fast, so precise.
Yeah.
But I love that because I think there is a place for precision, and he's the epitome of that. So I understand where you're coming from. It can be a little scary because the standards are high, but I imagine, again, your background, if you've been through a GUE center and then you're coming to train with them, at least that's a pretty good grounding before you start, right?
Definitely. Meeting the GUE world changes my life. I came from definitely a recreational world. Most recreational world in scuba diving. So Italian big groups. It was not easy for us to have a single client in our diving center. Arriving in a GUE center and meeting the owner, the first thing I remember, he said, you want to do a fundamental course? And I say, I'm not interested in technical diving. And he said, it's not technical diving. It's the real diving, a new way of diving. So if you do just the fundamental, that's it. You can stop there. You don't need to go ahead in technical diving.
Sure.
Well, I did the course. I immediately changed my dry suit.
Yes.
I immediately backplate. I immediately changed my octopuses in a different way. I bought the new torch. It did destroy my finance. But from that moment, it was great. Definitely great.
Awesome.
But then after 3 years, I needed something new.
Yeah, it's interesting because you talk about you needed something new and Sidemount became that thing when you saw Steve Bogarts and Steve Martin and so on.
Yeah.
But what was it about Sidemount diving that really captured your attention?
One video of Steve that really opened my eyes and let's say opened my heart. It was that video. He's diving with a lady face to face, moving around the swimming pool, sharing the gas, and it's incredible. They seems like dancing, and this flexibility in the water. I could say that in that moment, the 3-4 videos on the net was quite emotional. Maybe for the music, they are slow. They were moving around in the cenotes or swimming pool so slowly, really like dancing. Both Steve and Steve, the double Steve.
Yeah.
Having nothing on the back. Another little story. There were a private producer in Italy that produced this side-mount BCD called Chameleon, and he was going around and having his BCD tried by the owner or staff of the diving center. He came in the GUE center, and my owner tried it with his girlfriend. When he came back from the water, he said so many things. He said, no, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. And this producer went away quite sad for this. And I asked the owner, what you really think? And he said, in this way, everybody can dive. Why not? This is great.
Yes.
This is great. When I tried by myself and I say, oh God, it's incredible. You are so stable. You are so free. I think this is the feeling of Sidemount.
Yeah, I have a really similar story from my beginnings because it was almost identical and probably almost a very similar time. I'm living in the United States in 2010-12, traveling backwards and forwards. And I was watching the same videos. The one of Steve Bogarts, the one with the Yanni music where he's doing all the different orientations. That one just blew me away. And then watching some of Steve Martin's videos and then some of the DRSS videos that came later on with Patrick Widman and Philip Lehman and that group. Again, just how precise and stable and slow and deliberate they were in the water just looked amazing to me.
Really, that is. I'm a bit ashamed of saying that in Italy, Sidemount started not so well.
Okay.
I became instructor attending a presentation of a BCD of an Italian producer, not the one I mentioned before, another one. And we went there, and there were, I have to say, I'm a PADI instructor, but
Sure.
there were a PADI course director that the show was the BCD. It was, let's say, obvious that he didn't know actually so well what he was saying, presented us the BCD, and then, let's say, 1 hour, 30-minute, 1 hour presentation. Then we jump in the water, but not with the course director, alone. So 10 people in the water with the tank attached somewhere, with octopuses attached to the tank like this. And we swam around for 30 minutes. Then we came out and say, very good, now you are instructor. And I say, oh
my God.
Instructor of what? Instructor of what? So I decided not to teach because it was impossible. And I spent, from that moment, 2 years side mounting. I spent a season in Sharm el-Sheikh doing just side mount. Of course, when I was open water courses, not. But when I was guiding, I was always diving side mount. And it was incredible, the face of the diver crossing you in the water. They took a picture of...
I've had the same experience.
Yeah, it was incredible. And most of the time I was side mounting with just this left tank, the octopus. And when I crossed you on the right side, they didn't see the tank, but the regulator came out doing bubble. And they was like, whoa.
What system is this?
What are you doing? What are you doing? They jumped. When we were in Shamandura, the guys from the other boat jumped from one boat to another to come and take a picture and try the BCD on. So I say, no, this is my place. This is my way of doing it. It's so fun and so interesting. And
the parallels are really cool because I had a similar thing again. I mean, I did 200 side mount dives before I became an instructor.
Yeah.
And I felt I needed that. I got great training. I didn't have the good fortune to train with Steve, but I trained with Jason Renault, who Steve was associated with for a while there. So it was quite a similar course. Just loved it. But most of your learning happens after the course when you're putting it in the water yourself. I had to make it work in different environments. Going from a wetsuit in the cenotes in Mexico is quite different to diving in very cold water in Monterey, California, where I went back to. So I had to learn how to dive dry suit, dive steel cylinders, and just get my act together, and get myself really, really dialed in before I felt I was ready to be an instructor. So that was, it was more than 200 dives. So you trained with Steve, and then later on you started collaborating more with Steve, and you're now a Sidemount Essentials instructor. Tell us a little bit about how that process worked and what made you take that direction.
Yeah, I went to Malta in 2014 for the first time. I asked him if he has a place, and the day after I was on a plane.
Yeah.
When I arrived at Gozo Technical Diving of Audrey and Tom, where I don't remember exactly, maybe Peter, and he said, have you met Steve before? And I say, no, I just talked him with Skype and by mail, but except the video and the material on sidemounting.com, I don't know him. He said, oh, Steve is a noble man. And that's it. Steve is like this. He's like the good giant. It's impressive. It's massive. But he's always so positive. So yet always so positive. And I met him, and we did this 1 week course with these German guys, and it was so fun. And coming from a Jewy place that it's definitely good, but so serious. So having the same level of training, super good, super high level training. But this positive approach, this is diving. Enjoy the diving, not feeling a Superman, but feeling super comfortable in the water. And living almost together 24 hours a day, eating together, leaving Sidemount, speaking. This is like your podcast. It was real. Speaking Sidemount 24 hours a day, sharing material, sharing ideas. It was a continue growing from the instructor part and the students part. This is key point of Steve. Then is the video part. He did a massive job. I went there for the first time, having seen all the first series of the video. That period, I thought they were great. After the second release, I say, oh my God. He says the same. I say, I really would like not to have it on the internet anymore, but actually it's impossible. I bought the second release, and I went there again in 2017 for 3 weeks, sharing the house and all the students with Steve and assisting him during the courses. And is incredible. Really, really incredible. One of the best experience in my life in scuba diving. The keyword is sharing experience, sharing idea, living together with the students, talking about. You learn so much also from them, from their needs, from the difficult moment they face during the course. He uses the video also during the course. So you go back to his video series. Before the dive, you see the chapter about the dive that he's going to do, about the planning of the dive, filming technique, and so on. And so we use it again after the dive to review everything. And he filmed everything. I think that this fact of filming everything, we use it also in the GUE facility. We use the filming, but it's forbidden to give the video to the students after the course. Steve gives you everything. So you can do by yourself footage and editing of the video. So this is a good memory for the student. Also something good to have to see mistakes, to see his growing curve.
Yeah, video is massive. It's quite funny. Again, I was in Gozo in the 2 years that you were away. So I first arrived there in 2015 and then spent the season working there in 2016 with Tom and Audrey. And I had the same experience. Steve came and went in both of those years. So I got to meet him and we did a couple of dives together off the same boat or the same area, but didn't have the benefit of doing a course, but had a very similar experiences there with Tom and Audrey and similar approach to training, which I think is why Steve liked to base himself there, because they ran a great center for other instructors and also had a similar mindset around training and using video analysis afterwards and sharing the videos, because you're absolutely right. In fact, Audrey made the comment when I interviewed her, sometimes the students get a little bit too interested in the video. Sort of, a video of me today, and she said, you can have the video, but we're really using it as a learning tool as opposed to something you can use on YouTube afterwards.
Part of this experience was really being Gozo Technical Diving. There you can live the spirit of a high-level training diving center. Really, everything is perfect. And in a different way, totally different way, Steve, Tom, and Audrey, you should record everything of the day.
Yes.
Because everything is so important, so well said. Tom doesn't speak so much, but when he speaks, you say, wow.
Tom was my instructor. I did my instructor training with him, my full cave with him, did tech side mount instructor with him. He's coming up on an interview, and actually, hopefully Steve is as well. I'm sort of chasing both of those guys down. For our listeners, don't worry. I'm working real hard to make sure that two of those guys are coming on, because they're really two of the very best. So I used to walk into the center. It was the funniest experience because I was an executive in a software company, living the life associated with that. And so when I left that role and decided that I was going to spend a couple of years in Gozo, I'd walk in there every day with a smile on my face. I've never been so happy earning so little money in my life before. So welcome to the life of a dive instructor. But you'd walk in and you'd meet people like you and other instructors who were coming there to either do courses or to teach courses. You'd meet other divers and you'd collaborate with the other staff members, and everyone was awesome from the point of view of being a great friend. Some of them became mentors. They were colleagues. We'd help each other fill cylinders. We'd learn from each other. We'd share ideas. You'd look at someone's setup and you go, whoa, that's a bit different. Why are you doing that? What is that? And you'd steal each other's stuff. It was amazing. And then, of course, for me, it was formative in terms of my diving, and I'd be stealing moves because I have a martial arts background as well. And one of the things with that is that you learn by observation a lot. And so it's not so much by someone telling you do it like this. It's them demonstrating or you watching them when they're not looking. So I would always be watching Tom. How does he move his hands? How does he move his fins? How does he become that stable? And the same with Audrey and some of the other divers there. And so I'd be stealing their moves, trying to make them my own in my own way with my own body shape, which is quite different from both of them. But at the same time, what an experience to be able to go to a place like that.
Yeah. Tom is the wise man.
Indeed.
The wise man. And Audrey is great. She's, in capital letter, the lady of scuba diving, I think, in the world.
Certainly one of them. There's many greats, but she's the one that I know the best in terms of the top female divers.
When she arrives in her Among Us pickup, the music in the end she's great. I said, well, great place.
Cigarette smoke coming out the window the
whole week. Always.
We can have a laugh because she's our very good friend. I'm sure she won't mind. So I mentioned earlier you trained with Steve and then you became a Sidemount Essentials instructor. And I think you started to share some of the reasons that the Sidemount Essentials approach captured you. But obviously it is a different thing because you're involved in Steve's program as opposed to running your own courses through an agency. So what made you choose to go down that path?
At least in Italy, but if you see Facebook pages about Sidemount, I think it's always like this. When you say party in Sidemount, it's a mess. When you say party, everybody say, okay, that's party Sidemount. You're a party instructor, yes, as if I know that the instructor is important, not the agency. But definitely here and around the world, if you say party in Sidemount, it's a problem. So I needed something different. So I needed not changing agency because it's not important. I became also a UTR instructor because they say that they have a full curricula in Sidemount, but I saw that it's the same. It's the instructor that do the difference. So I say, I don't need another certification. I need a method. I need a new name on me. So always knowing Steve, I decided to follow this road. So I really believe in the video teaching that he's not doing the course on the video. So many people misunderstand this. It's not, I can buy the course on the video and that's it. The water training is the basis. It's fundamental, definitely. So I decided for that, to become a Sidemount Essential instructor.
Yep.
Because Steve is able to share this perfect way of teaching and this positive approach. So he can flex, he can melt his way of teaching depending on the students that he have in front. 3 weeks, he had a super nice guy that had this open water course, I think 20 years ago, something like this, never dove again. He came for doing the advance with the tank on the back. And immediately after 3 days, he said, but I want to try Sidemount. And he did the Sidemount course. And it was perfect. Then he came a super, super nice guy from Spain. I think he's 72 years old.
I think I know who you're talking about. I've dived with him as well.
Super cave diver. He's a super positive person.
Yes.
When you say to him, you want to do this? And he say, why not?
Exactly.
And he did his multi-stage training. And Steve can pass from one to another like this, like no problem, with the same positive approach, obviously demanding something different from one student to another. This is the great plus of Steve. At the beginning of every course, he did a speech with the students and they say, what do you expect from me? What I can do from you? Oh my God, this is different. This is different from every other agency approach. Me, I'm the instructor and I'm here for you.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you raise a couple of interesting points in there. Paddy does not have a good reputation in Sidemount. There is no doubt about that. However, let's hit that from two angles. Number one, I think the reason for that is that the bar to become a Paddy Sidemount specialty instructor is way too low. You can go and do instructor training, become a open water instructor, immediately go do 3, 5, 10 dives, whatever it is, and you're a Sidemount specialty instructor. And that's just not right. And that's really the problem in a nutshell. If the requirement was that you actually went off and did, as we have done, a multi-day, 4-day, 5-day, 8-day Sidemount course, and then you went away and bedded in 25, 50, 100, 200 Sidemount dives after that, now you're ready to be a Sidemount instructor. Because it's not as easy as just going and running a deep specialty, a reg specialty, or anything else like that. It's much more involved, and the level of detail required is just too high. So my feeling is that it's not the agency. You're a Paddy instructor, I'm a TDI instructor, so what? It doesn't really matter. It's really what's more important about you and I compared to the instructors I just talked about is the basis of our training initially and then what we've done since then.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And actually in Italy, what happened around 2012 was doing so many instructors like this.
Yes. Yeah.
So many like me. I have to say it. As I told you, I became instructor attending a presentation of a BCD in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, and so many instructors in that period. There were so many course directors, 3-4 course directors that wrote their own distinctive on Sidemount, not knowing what Sidemount was, and teaching it to instructor that actually they didn't know what Sidemount was.
Yeah.
Teaching to students. In 2015, I cooperated for 3 years with the Diving Academy Network. Then he stopped because the president was Fabio Figurella, that is now the PADI regional manager for Italy. And we worked together so much. I was fighting every day. He was the man of the bureaucracy. I'm terrible. I'm filling form and signing form. I'm terrible. I'm always out of standard. And he was the bureaucracy man against me. But he was so open to understand. And I thought so much, say, we have to change things. And he said, it's not commercial. I said, okay, but we have to do something for scuba diving. And we wrote a specialty that is called STP, Streamline, Trim, and Propulsion, that is divided in 3. One is the basic, so I can do finning technique, streamline, trim, with everything. So a jacket, a normal jacket, an octopus, saying something about how to put your equipment better.
Yes.
This is the basic one. So I can do it to an open water if I want. There is the Ogarsian. You can do it with the double or with a single tank on the back.
Yes.
Obviously a wing and a long hose. And then there is the side mount. The Sidemount STP was designed actually to reteach, to teach again to all the diver and the instructor already having a Sidemount specialty. And for 2 years, we did this.
Nice.
Really. So all the instructor of the network came in Portofino doing again the course in Sidemount. And actually they didn't know anything. Most of them because they did the specialty and then never Sidemount anymore. And this is the problem. As you said, you need to dive. You need to choose. You can't do everything. You have to Sidemount. To have the moving of the hands, to memorize the movement. One of the difficult parts of Sidemount, I think, is actually entering and exiting the water, the different environment. And maybe you learn to enter from the beach, when you are on the boat, you say, oh my God, I never tried this. How I can do this? Okay, I respond to you. So we did this, and in the same period, I coined the acronyms OTB, off the bottom. So I was teaching open water in buoyancy, and now we are using it off the bottom. OTB is not staying in buoyancy, because obviously the first day an open water can't do it. The thing is giving him an idea. So the bottom is not an option.
Yeah.
So I can take you with my hand far from the bottom. This is OTB. At the beginning, like this. Then you proceed in your course. And let's say I saw that during the course, they don't even need the bottom. So they start with the help, and then immediately is like this. And I start doing open water courses inside Mount. I wrote to my agency, I spoke with Fabio Figurella, and I say, do you think I can do it? And he say, yes, if you don't violate the standard, you can do it. And after that, Paddy wrote on the manual, you can do the open water course inside Mount. There is a little note, say this. They say this, and we started doing this, open water courses inside Mount, and I found it so easy. Not for me, because for the student it's so easy. So starting from the beginning, it's so easy for them, and then it's so easy for them the transition to a higher level training, to technical training, because they don't do anything different from the beginning. They don't have to remove the jacket and octopus. They are already in the right configuration. They already know the finning techniques. For them, it's so easy. So then Fabio left the school and became the PADI regional manager, and now is doing such a good job. I think it's a long job.
Okay.
But now the IDC, the instructor development course of PADI, is not compulsory, but PADI say it's better if you do it in buoyancy, in neutral buoyancy.
Right.
Let's see how many. It's a start. It's a start. Let's see. OTB, off the bottom. This is
love it. I'm stealing that from you. I'm sorry. People around New Zealand are going to hear that from now on. It's interesting. A lot of my friends are working as open water instructors at a particular dive center that I teach Sidemount for. And some time ago now, some of them are formerly my students. One of them has been to Gozo and train with Tom as well. It's now the complete philosophy of this dive center that everything is done OTB. It has been for quite some time now. And what's interesting, the feedback that they've been giving me is that the students don't know any different. They don't know. If you tell them, don't touch the bottom, you're not allowed to touch the bottom, and they start learning from this OTB point of view, they actually don't know that there's another way. And he said it's actually so much easier than you think. Teach them how to be neutrally buoyant and then teach them to be off the bottom. And then obviously you can layer on top of that. Well, now that we've got you there, now how do we get you streamlined? How do we get you stable? How do we get you in trim? And just some equipment adjustments and adjustments on the way they hold their body, and you're starting to get there, right? So brilliant. Love it. This is the future of diving, and it's people like you driving that in Italy and guys I'm talking about in New Zealand here and other parts of the world that are, I think, making better divers now than we've seen in the past. And so I'm very encouraged by that. I wanted to sweep back to the Sidemount Essentials thing again, because I asked you a little bit about the benefits of being a Sidemount Essentials instructor. And one thing that struck me when I looked on sidemounting.com and went across the list of instructors there is what a great group of divers. So I've dived with Matt Givon, I've dived with Audrey a lot, I've dived with Vas Proud, Joe and yourself. I don't know Joe yet, and we've just met, but the group seems to be astoundingly good. And I think one of the other benefits that I could see there is just the collaboration between divers coming from different backgrounds, different perspectives, but all fantastic Sidemount divers.
Yes, that's it. I think that the fact that Steve say, I don't do it for money. So obviously he's an instructor for money, but I don't want to do the instructor course for money. I want to choose people. I want to choose the right people. He started saying this. If you want to be in a group, I choose you. But it's not for having money.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting, so nice. Not so many instructors and a nice group. The only difficult part that I found in Italy is the price. The price of courses. So when I went to Gozo Technical Diving, but also in Playa del Carmen, when you do a course, I think that the price is the minimum correct price for your day. In Italy, there is the war. There is really the war. So you fight to pay less. Yeah. So sometimes students write me for the course, and before asking the price of the course, they ask for the discount. So they don't even know the price, and they start, there is a discount because I have the ticket of the, I don't know. So this is a little problem.
And I think it's a global problem, and some of it is cultural, I'm sure, but I think it's the same everywhere. And bottom line is you get what you pay for. And if you just want to go and get a ticket, then go and get a ticket. The quality doesn't come into it, does it? But if you really want to be a good diver, and forget about the certification, because who cares about that? Once you pass a certain level, it doesn't matter anymore. You can turn up on a boat with whatever ticket you like. But if you really want to be a good diver, you have to find a good instructor. You can learn on your own. I know people who've become good divers learning on their own, but almost all of them have had friends or have dived with other good divers. And I think you can learn quite a lot by hanging out with good divers and diving with them and getting some freebie ideas and so on. But it will take you a long time. And depending on who you're diving with, you'll either go down the right path or the wrong path. And so you'll find yourself iterating around to become a good diver. But where I came from, I said, look, I want to be a great diver. I want to be like Steve Bogarts, which makes me laugh now because, you know, Patrick Whitman made the comment on his podcast. He said when Steve was selling the razor, people were buying the razor because they wanted to be like Steve. And he said, look, I'm buying a Wilson racket because you want to be Roger Federer, you know.
That's it.
It takes a mountain of dives, but at least you can start out the right way, I think, is the point. And so getting good training from a great instructor, I think, is a great way to go, but it's going to cost you some coin. And I certainly never apologize for the price of my courses because typically we don't
never
make that much money. It's not about money. It's about giving quality instruction, and look, it has to be worth your while. So, and I know not everyone agrees with that, but that's where I come from, and I don't apologize for it.
I always did this. I choose the man, and then I did the course.
Yeah.
The price is at the end of the course.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes it hurts, right? So I remember...
Don't say too loud. Maybe next instructor, I don't ask the price, and at the end, he charges so much on me. But it was like this. It was Patrick, it was Steve, it was always like this. Always like this.
Well,
this fact of the self-instructing, in Italy, I spoke with a couple of resellers that sell Sidemount VCDs and regulator. One is the distributor the dealer of XDEEP, for example, another one sell another brand, and they say they don't sell so much, but they sell BCDs. But most of these people, after 3 months, 6 months, they come back and they say, oh, I stopped because I'm not able to do it. I don't feel better. I don't feel comfortable. And always the problem is that they are not attending the course.
Yeah.
Generally, they are technical diver, maybe with back problem or something like this. And they say, oh, I can try side mount because people say that is more comfortable. And they try on their own. They try it alone. And this is the problem. They think that, oh, okay, I'm a technical diver. What is the difference? I remove the double tank from my back and I put 2 tanks on the side. And it's not like this. Definitely it's not like this. But it's here. You say that it's a global problem. Good to hear this, because I thought that the problem was just in Italy. It's quite a diffuse, a wide problem.
Yeah. I watch the side mount diving Facebook group a lot, and I use it in my promotion, but I don't comment on it a lot. And one of the reasons that I don't, you find yourself wound up in a big discussion and involved in what I would call the minutiae of side mount diving, which is how long should my bungee be and how should I set this up, and what sort of clip should I use, and all of that is covered in a course, and people get quite offended when you say that. So certainly I find it a good mechanism for sharing what we're doing. I share this podcast on there. I'm very appreciative for that, but I do find the discussions there quite disturbing from time to time, and I don't tend to contribute. I don't know. I've seen your photographs there for sure, but I'm not sure whether you contribute very much on there.
No. I don't write at all. Being part of these flames, so people are touching. No, I don't like. I think that we have to give a positive approach to side mount. I try to do it with the photo. So if you show a good side mount, I think you start doing a good job. Then
some of the biggest contributors don't have the best photographs on there either. And then you look at people like yourself and Audrey and the pictures that I'm putting up and others, and there's a definite difference in there, right, between what you're seeing. And that kind of leads me into your photography, because I love your photographs. I think they're spellbinding, some of them. I looked at one the other day, which was a multi-cylinder side mount. Must have been during a gas switch because there was a regulator out, but the background was completely black and the diver was perfectly illuminated. It was just a stellar picture.
The one in the mine.
Yes, it was. It was in the mine,
This is a good friend of mine, is Nicola Ferroni, and he's a UTR instructor and is a super good diver.
Great model for sure, but a really really good photograph. So tell me a bit about your photography. This must be a passion as well, because you're good at it.
I have to say, actually, I'm a beginner in photography. So the photography, I really don't want to dive with, because it's impossible to dive with a photographer. It's not the body. You are the babysitter, so you have to follow him and be patient. And my girlfriend, Francesca, she was like this. She was a photographer. We often dive with other photographers, and it was so boring for me. I said, oh my God, I went to Philippines, to Puerto Galera, and it was 15 days, and I said, oh, what is this? In 10 meters in the gray sand.
Yeah. Trying to find little beasts there.
And I don't see them.
We are exactly the same. I am so biologically challenged. I love big fish because I see them and I can usually recognize them. And sharks and whales and all that sort of seals. I love all of that. But all the little small stuff, it used to be like a standing joke. It goes so technical, because one of the other divers there, Thorsten, was fantastic at finding nudibranch. And he'd do a dive and he'd say, did you see the nudibranch? And I go, no, I didn't. And I'd swim straight over the top of them. So the next dive, he'd grab me and push my face into a nudibranch and say, look, there it is.
That's it. Every dive I came back on the boat, throwing my camera. The organizer gave it to me and he said, try, you see, it's nice. And I came back every dive and say, oh, I don't see anything. And when I see something, when I watch in the camera, I don't see it anymore. So I don't know what to do it. But then after that, I found my place in photography. That is wide angle photography.
Right.
And I like to take picture of divers. So,
well, I was about to go there with that, because this macro photography thing, that's definitely like not me. And I think why I was attracted to your pictures was exactly that, the wide angle. having divers as models or divers doing great things around shipwrecks or mines or caves. I think they are awesome. That's my kind of photography. And I think also if you're the buddy, you become the model. So it's actually good to dive with photographers who do that, because all of a sudden there's pictures of you all over the internet.
All over the net, yes.
And hopefully they make you look good too, right?
You have some pressure on it, because maybe you do a dive with someone that you don't know. You take a picture. After that, it's like stalking. Have you seen my picture? Have you seen my picture? Can I have my picture? It's like, oh my God. But I like it so much. And this was a part of the 3 weeks with Steve. Mm-hmm. So I had my camera and I took pictures of all the training of this. Every 3 days, a new group or a single. Nice. And it was really a good test for me, because you have to be in the action. So it's more difficult than having a camera, a GoPro, and then take screenshots, because you always find a good moment. Okay, the quality is not super great, but you can have a really good action moment. Actually, with the camera, you're always late. You see the moment, you shot, and the moment is gone.
You have to anticipate, right?
Yeah, you have to anticipate. So you have to shot, and hope that something happens. Yeah. And it was really a good training for me, being there with Steve. And he said it was so impressed and was so happy to have this other part of memories to give the students. We cover all these 3 weeks, putting post, putting caption on every photo, explaining what we were doing with good quality photo. And I think it's so interesting.
And it's great added value, isn't it? Again, we talk about the price of a course, but if you come away from a course having received great training, certification, if you happen to meet the standards, and then on top of that, you've got video footage of your dives and great photographs, what an experience that is.
That's it. And I continue doing like this. Now I had a baby. Now she's called Marina. She's 7 months old.
Oh my goodness.
She's great. She's already doing back kick. Not on the floor.
I can imagine you have her laying face down with her arms in front and free posture.
Yeah. Well done. So we stopped for a moment. I'm doing the daddy. Well, in the moment I stopped the courses, but we are doing this. We hope to jump back in the water this summer as soon as we can, me and Francesca, so start doing photo again. Got a couple of big blue lights from Steve.
Oh, yes.
He introduced me in Big Blue. I bought 33,000 lumen lights. I want to start testing something different. Let's see. After this season, we can see if we have something new.
Very nice. Obviously, you're being a dad right now, which is awesome. But what sort of diving do you normally do for fun? What's a fun dive for you?
In the area of Portofino, we have dived from 0 to the good area is 55 meters. This is our, let's say, comfort zone and our pleasure zone. So we have fish at around 15, 20 meters. Then we have a strong thermocline generally at 15 meters, 12 meters. Then we have the gorgonias and corals below this level. We have many wrecks, So this is what I like. I like a good environment that could be a good landscape for a diver.
Yes.
I like movement in the water. So it doesn't matter for me if I see this particular fish, but around there is nothing. So I want to see really the sun rays coming down, the water. So photos at 5 meters are the best, because you have the water on top, the white water moving, the rocks, then you have sun rays. This is what I like. And generally, this is the other training photograph. In training, we generally stay there with the line at 3 meters, 5 meters, 7 meters. You can do picture like this. And in general, I like caves. Now I live in Vicenza, that is northeast of Italy. There are so many nice caves, but I'm used to warm water. So here is 5 degrees.
That's the same issue in New Zealand.
I do it, but it's difficult. And mostly it's difficult to reach the entry point. So generally you have to walk to carry the tank. So I'm lazy. I'm a lazy guy. So I want to be on the boat and jump and come up.
Or catch a flight somewhere where you can walk straight in.
Yeah. My objective, my dream, let's say, is to attend a course with Irena Stangesca.
Yes.
Unfortunately, she speaks just Polish. Maybe translating it, because a podcast with Irena
You know what? I actually reached out to her and I didn't receive a response, but I guessed that was the reason that English just wasn't possible.
She's a good friend of Mihura, maybe having him as a translator, because she's shy, but she's really a super nice person. And at this show that we had last week, diving show in Italy, the EOD 2019, I was there with the XDEEP stand, and in front there was Scubalandia and Seawolf.
Yes.
And I saw this woman and I say, maybe she's Irena. So strange. Yes. What is she doing here? She were helping Seawolf. They are a good friend. And I went there and said, are you Irena really? You have to speak on the stage. You don't have to stay here. You have to speak. You have to show your photos. You have to do a presentation. But she's really shy. She don't want to do it. The photos are impressive.
Just amazing.
It's so feeling in the photos. My idea is to go in the cold quarry of Poland, doing a photo course with her.
Just sort of thinking of the podcast with her as well, as you're right. If I had a translator, given if she's shy as well, face-to-face might be the best opportunity. So I'll pick a time when I'm in Europe and try and make it around an event or something, because like you, I certainly admire her photography, and she has a very distinctive style as well. You can look at a photograph and say, that's Arena's.
This is Arena, yes. They are all different. So same style, but many landscape, so also the picture of the nature with the flower, she's great.
Now you mentioned XDEEP, and they're very kindly a sponsor of this podcast, and I'm very grateful for that. And you were working on the stand with them. So tell us a little bit about how you dive XDEEP yourself, and then what you were doing and supporting them on their stand.
When I started buying every BCD it was possible to find in Italy. Every BCD. At the beginning, I didn't buy the razor because it was impossible to find it here and it was so expensive. But I bought 6-7 different BCDs and I tried to use it, and I almost throw away everything. First, the XDEEP arrived at the Classic. I saw the presentation of Patrick with the red tent on the back. It was quite scary, but I say this could be the one, because the difference is that it's a BCD made by someone who does side mount. So the other rig was someone made by a producer that say, okay, I have a hole in the catalog, I can do a BCD for side mount, but they are not conceived really for side mount. They were not designed and produced by side mount.
Yes.
XDEEP, I think, is the changer of this approach. I bought probably the first one in Italy, and I started doing it, try to change things, to manage everything. And I thought it was perfect. For that moment, I started teaching. I bought 5-6 BCD to teach with them. When I was teaching with generally instructor that own their own BCD, generally a Chameleon or something like this, it was a mess. So I one day tried to have their BCD able to dive. This was really impossible. So since that moment, I say, okay, I teach just with the XDEEP. Then if you want, as a student, you will dive with your BCD after the course. I give you all the tips and tricks to make your BCD better, but it's too difficult and too long for me to use your BCD. It's stupid time spending. So I start doing this. Now it's so easy for me. It's so easy to open the unboxing and preparing it. It's immediate. When you see a mistake, you say, okay, it's this. Let's do it. I continue using the Classic because it's so easy for me as an instructor to changing the weight in the water on the student. You can lower or higher the wing a little to trim, change the weight to trim it. It's so easy to manage it. For me as a diver, I think I never go back to a Classic now. Also, Patrick said we thought the Classic for hard cave training, cave diving, but we did a poll and 85% of the diver don't do cave diving. So probably a BCD that is easier to wear when maybe you are on the boat and that is wavy and so it's fast. You put it on and you jump. So the rack, and for small people or maybe super warm climate and wetsuit or skinny lady, for example, it's great that if you have the enough weight, the tacky, it's super nice. I don't like to put tricky things on the BCD. I think that like this is good. There are a couple of things that obviously that I do to do it differently, but I don't like to put some strange tri-glides or attachment that
Right.
tri-glide divided. But it's my opinion. I saw many people using it and being happy. With XDEEP Italy, from this Audi, we decided to having a different approach. Due to the fact that in this moment I don't teach, I say, okay, let's see if we can spread around some side mount mentality, such good practices in side mount. So we prepared these two presentations. At the beginning, it was impossible. In the other Audi show, side mount was presenting just like, okay, this is side mount. You can put your tank on the side, but like a secret, not saying too much. If I say too much, people maybe don't come to do the course.
Right.
Now I have a different approach. So we did a presentation about, at the beginning, a little history of side mount, the school, the different style of side mount, then why XDEEP became so popular and so strong in the market. So the key points of the XDEEP, then choosing the setup, which one of the three setups is better for the diver, and then unboxing the XDEEP and trying to prepare it. So rigging, preparing the XDEEP. Because a problem, the dealer told me that a problem with the resellers, with the shops, is that they say, we are not able to prepare the BCD for the clients, but mostly we have no time. So we have no time to spend an hour preparing the BCD. Right. So we don't sell it. We don't sell side mount BCD because it's too long and too difficult for us. We will to change this at least. Okay, people will not come to do the course. Oh, we hope to have better side mounter in any case. So teach them how to have a good preparation of the BCD, to choose the BCD. And then we did another presentation, a little faster, with what you see, what you have to do. So the diver, the mistake, and what is the problem of the mistake, what you have to do.
And how to correct it. That's awesome.
Yeah. But we did it with real photograph of the diver. So it's not a drawing. So a real photograph trying to cover all the possible mistake with the trim of the tanks and the trim of the diver. And we will give this, we want to go around in the shop and in the schools, in the groups of divers, and trying to do this presentation. Probably we will enrich this with the tank rigging, with the regulator rigging, and see if we can do something.
Awesome.
For a better side mount world.
I tend to agree, and I think it's great to be able to either give some of that information away or to be able to make it really low cost. I mean, I've done a lot of that myself. I mean, there's many episodes in Speaking Side Mount where I'm basically giving away knowledge of what I know and on setup and everything. Now, people can take that and they can use it. And the reason I'm quite happy to do that is it's not the in-water part. And my courses are about, they're about setup and they're about land drilling skills, but they're about the in-water time and people better divers in the water. And the same with my fundamentals ebook. It's all about saying, hey, listen, here's a whole lot of knowledge that can help you as a side mount diver, but it's not a course. It's just some information.
It's not a course. So, that's it. And you arrive more prepared to the course, but you are curious. You are in the STEEP courses. All the people, it's compulsory to have seen the videos.
Yes.
But they came in the water. And I saw in the video, it's perfect how he explains to set up the BCD and everything. But when they arrive, they are never perfect.
Yes.
There is always something to do because it's different to see in a video, to do it on your own, and to have someone in front of you explaining and say, okay, if you do 2 centimeters less, see what happens and say, oh God, yes, it's true. So the in-water training and then face-to-face training is different. And this is what we think. So it's not a problem of having the secret about knowledge. We can spread the knowledge.
Yes.
Because if a person will not come to do a course with me, because if see in my presentation, probably even if he hadn't seen the presentation, he would have not come. So there's no problem. I hope many people will see the presentation, that will attend the podcast, that will buy the Steve's video, and we will spread the knowledge about side mounting around. Then if we will do the course, it's better. But let's see. We are doing our job
Yeah, we are. And I'm super enthused at the moment because through the podcast, I'm getting the opportunity to talk to great divers. There's just fantastic instructors and role models around now. And I think the standard is growing. So the days of, let's not say agency again, but the days of the Sidemount specialty diver where they've been poorly trained, at least the information is out there now and you can see good role models online and see what it should look like. Look like's not the right word. See how skills should be conducted and see how you should dive in Sidemount. And then at least you know what the standard is, right? You know what you should be aspiring to. And also it's not that hard to find people who can teach you that now.
And I think that the video series of Steve, or maybe our photo, or maybe how you can show, like speak about Sidemount, is a benchmark.
Yes.
Be a benchmark for students. Okay, you can do it alone, or you can choose whatever instructor you want. Yes. But you have a benchmark. You do a course with your instructor, then you see Steve's in the water, and you say, okay, there is something wrong about my course. Mm-hmm. I saw a photo of Patrick, of me, of all the photos of Audrey. Yes. You see always perfect diver. And so if you attend a course and your instructor is not like this, there is a light that should switch on and they say, okay, maybe my instructor, there is something wrong. Maybe the course I attend was not so good. So probably this is the process that we can do, that our role could be in part like this.
Yeah, very good. Well, my friend, I feel like we could keep going forever. But
I never thought it was possible for me.
Well, and you were awesome. Your English is
impossible to do it in English. It was great at 7 a.m.
It's been brilliant. It's been brilliant. And as I mentioned, I'm certainly planning to get to Sardinia. So I'll let you know when I'm going and if you could pop over.
For sure. In summer, we are there. Definitely. You have to come.
So I've already been talking to my wife about it. So it's in the plan. We've just got to figure out how and when. I'll certainly look you up. And if we can cross paths somewhere else in the world, that'd be wonderful too. So I've really appreciated your time. I've appreciated what you've shared with us. I think it's been awesome. And your perspectives in terms of the way that you teach now and your background, I think is a great role model to many. And I've certainly learned a lot today as well.
Thank you to you for the opportunity. Really, really. Good Sidemount to everybody.
Indeed.
You've been listening to Speaking Sidemount from www.sidemountpros.com. If you like the podcast, please subscribe and consider leaving us a 5-star review. If there's something you'd like us to cover on the show, then let us know via our Facebook page listed in the podcast notes. Thanks again, and we look forward to you joining us on our next episode of Speaking Sidemount.